Our next speaker, with his fascination in e-commerce, he started selling online as a teenager, eventually becoming an eBay power seller with over 100,000 US dollars in revenue. The realization of the challenges of fulfillment and his passion for e-commerce and technology propelled him to build Xend in 2004, laying the groundwork to make shipping easy and affordable. With that innovation in 2004, he continues to build, innovate, and improve the experience for the digital e-commerce market, including Xend's 350,000 plus sellers, entrepreneurs, and millions of buyers. Learn how the difficulties of Filipino online sellers and shipping and delivery led him to revolutionize e-commerce logistics in the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, founder and CEO of Xend, Mr. Bjorn Pardo.
All right. Good morning, everyone. It's a full house. I wasn't expecting it to be this full, but it's great. It's great. Yeah, I mean, I'm just waiting for my presentation to be loaded. There we go. So I was here. I'm here to talk about my origin story, how I got to where I am right now, and hopefully, pass on some learnings to everyone here. Right? I think there's a bunch of entrepreneurs in the crowd, and I hope I can inspire you guys a bit. Right. So officially, the title of my presentation is "Breaking Convention and Revolutionizing E-commerce Logistics." Right? But I hope that it will be more of my learnings and passing my learnings on to all these aspiring entrepreneurs out in the crowd. Right. So I was given an hour, right? And an hour is, that's the longest talk I've ever had to give. So I want to leave a little time in the end for a lot of Q&A, right? I think that Q&A is really where a lot of the learnings are uncovered, right? So with that little preface, I'm going to have to take out my notes because an hour is a long time, right? Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so for those of you who don't, who are not really familiar with Xend and what we do, our aim is to provide convenient and affordable shipping. Okay? And we try to focus in on the e-commerce market, right? Primarily those micro SMEs who would normally be, is an afterthought, right, for bigger companies, right? So just to give you a little background of, a brief background of, how I started Xend, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, right? My background is in e-commerce, and I don't mean that I worked in an e-commerce company and I founded the company because I saw the pain points after working in an e-commerce company. I have always been. Let me just get this clicker. All right. I have always been into technology. And not in the sense that I can program and stuff. I wish I could, but that's a tough job. But I've always been into tech. I've always been into e-commerce, and I was I'll take you way back into maybe the late 1990s and early 2000s. I was in the U.S. at the time, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I kind of knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I I really didn't know. I thought I wanted to maybe be an architect. I thought I might wanted to be a pilot at one time. But I was really, kind of confused in my late teens. So I decided to, take a break from, I started off as engineering. My father and grandfather were engineers. I thought, okay, maybe I'll be an engineer. I later figured out that that wasn't for me, so I decided to take a little break and move back to the States. I've been between the States and the Philippines my whole life. So at the time, I moved back to the States in my late teens, early 20s, and really trying to kind of find out what I wanted to do. So I ended up working in a fertility clinic of all places, right? Which is pretty crazy. But that was it's an interesting job, but it wasn't for me, and I got bored pretty quickly, and I discovered e-commerce. And then, at the time in 1999, early 2000s, even in the US, e-commerce was still kind of in its infancy. eBay was a couple years old. I don't even know if Amazon existed back then, but it fascinated me. The people were buying and selling online and making money, and it was very interesting to me. So I decided to give it a shot. I was selling random things from scanners to handheld camcorders to travel gift certificates to all these types of things, and it was thrilling for me. Just being able to maybe find something and earn something and make a markup on that. It was very exciting. But even in the U.S. Shipping was by far the biggest pain point. I knew that there were perhaps, at the time I was thinking there were maybe thousands of people or hundreds of people back in the Philippines that were having the same problem as me. So at that point I realized, I think I found what I want to do. Not that I had a passion for logistics, but I had a passion for entrepreneurship and perhaps, at a very young age, I felt like, if I'm having this problem, I'm sure that there are many people out there that are having the same problem as me, and I want to be able to help. So that is kind of like a brief kind of overview of how I kind of thought of the idea. But what I want to do for this talk today, I'm not going to kind of get into the details of every little single thing that we do. But what I am going to do is I'm going to try to kind of go through the history of Xend and the company and to where we are today, and try to kind of share with you some of the learnings that I've learned over the years through some quotes. Right? I love quotes, whether it be from a motivational speaker, whether it be from a famous actor or a fictional character, whatever. I love quotes. It's also very easy for everyone here to, I guess, relate to the learning and maybe even remember the learning because of these famous quotes. Where am I supposed to be pointing this? Maybe I'll just say, can I just tell you guys when to, can we go to the next slide? I gotta take out my notes. Just, I don't want to miss out on anything. Like I said, a 1 hour talk is quite long, so I don't want to miss out on anything. Right, so I just wanted to share with you guys what our vision is for Xend, and actually for the whole group of companies that Xend represents, right? And I'll get into a little bit more about the group of companies, right, later on. But I want everyone to kind of remember this, because we're going to come back to this a little later, maybe a couple times, right? And so our vision is to transform passionate individuals into successful entrepreneurs, right? And I hope that there are a bunch of entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs out in the crowd. Can I just get a quick show of hands of who here is an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur? Like, all right, that's good. So as you can see, our vision has nothing to do with e-commerce. It has nothing to do with logistics. It has nothing to do with any particular industry, right? It's all about entrepreneurs, and that's who we've been all about ever since the very beginning. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm gonna try to leave a lot of time for Q&A at the end. But in the meantime, I'm gonna try to keep it as entertaining as possible, or as educational as possible. I don't know about entertaining, but yeah. Can we go to the next slide, please? So like I said, I'm going to share some learnings through quotes, and maybe tell a little story of how I kind of relate that quote to the learning. And just a second. Here we go. So the first quote is, "Don't wait for the environment to be ready," and it's by Jack Ma. Right? I mean, I'm sure. I hope everyone knows I hope everyone here knows who Jack Ma is. Right? Jack Ma is the founder of Alibaba. I think it's the biggest company in the world. They recently, just to kind of give everyone a little context, Alibaba recently acquired a majority stake in Lazada. Right? So anyone who here has shopped on Lazada, I'm sure everyone here knows who Lazada is. They're kind of an Alibaba company now. So it might sound kind of strange, not to wait. Don't wait for the environment to be ready, right? Because kind of everyone tells you that, that the environment is ready now. The infrastructure is ready. We as the government, we're here now to support everyone. But that might be actually the wrong time. It might be actually too late, right? I mean, I'm going to try to share with you some of my personal learnings. I mean, I hope that, this might not be for everyone, but this is kind of what worked for me. And I didn't wait for the environment to be ready, right? If the government says, come in, the environment is not ready, infrastructure is ready, that probably means that there's a bunch of competitors there, which means that margins are low, which means that competitiveness is high. It means that maybe the barriers of entry are low, which means that it's very easy for people to enter the space. So for me, I guess a personal experience is, I started the company in 2004. And there's probably a bunch of people in here in 2004 that you were probably this big, right? And just to give you an idea of like what it was in 2004. 2004, I had no idea what a VC was. I had no idea what a co-founder was. I had no idea what a founder was. I didn't even know I was a founder until I read about it later on. And right now there's maybe 60% of the population that has access to the internet. In 2004, it's 5%, right? That's like 5 million people. So we had 5% of the population that had access to the internet. iPhones didn't exist. There were no local e-commerce players or platforms. No local payment options. So it sounds pretty crazy to enter the market at that time, right? But again, our vision was really kind of more than that. And I knew that there were, a small pocket of entrepreneurs that were selling online, right? And I'll tell you why that for me it was a good thing, and maybe for you guys it could be a good thing, kind of entering the market at such an early stage, right? Can we go to the next slide, please? And when you kind of enter the market at this stage, this is what you get. It's a big blue vast ocean, and it's all to yourself. And what that means is that you can create the market, right? And that's what we did, right? And I can't stress enough how much of a first mover advantage was instrumental in where we are today because of that decision in 2004, right? We're benefiting from being the first mover 14 years ago to this day. And I think that there are still huge opportunities now. You might think that, let's say in the e-commerce space, it's very competitive, and it is. Right? Even in the logistics space, it's very, very competitive. We were the only ones in 2004 to 2008, maybe, that were doing what we did and focusing on the market that we focused on. But now, there are a dime a dozen, and e-commerce is crowded, logistics is crowded, but regardless of industry, there are still a lot of pockets of blue oceans out there to explore. Right, I just had a conversation yesterday with a company. They might be here, and they're in the e-commerce space, and personally I thought there were no more blue oceans in that space. But I was having a conversation with this company yesterday, and I was interested in talking to this company because they were doing something that I kind of didn't believe in, but I wanted to know a little bit more about what they did before I made up my mind, right? And they convinced me, they proved me wrong, and that there are these pockets of blue oceans everywhere. And it's up to you guys to kind of really think hard about, to what type of niche can you attack, and what types of, how can you differentiate yourselves from the competitors? For us, it was at the time when we first started, no one was focusing on the small entrepreneur, the micro entrepreneur. No one was trying to make things more convenient for them. And as a, aside from that, right, e-commerce would, at the time when I first founded the company, if things were to continue the way that it did, then I don't think e-commerce would ever grow, right? I mean, imagine if you, as a micro entrepreneur selling online, and you're just starting out, and you would be selling a couple items a week or something like that, and you would sell one item at a time. And imagine if you had to, every time that you sold something, you had to spend 2 hours of your day to travel to some mall to drop off your parcel, fill out the forms over there, pack your items over there, wait in line, email your customers, travel back home, and do that every day. And on top of all that, pay an arm and leg for the shipping, right? Would eat into your margins, and I think that would kind of discourage everyone. For me, it was, I experienced that. I would be going to the post office, no air conditioning. I'd be sweating my butt off every day, shipping parcels, and it was a hassle, right? And I maybe would have given up if no one would have solved that problem for me. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, once you kind of thought of like, okay, there's this blue ocean here, I want to attack it, I think I have a great idea, but you're a small company, right? And how can you get people to trust you if you're a team of a handful of people, if you're working from a co-working space or whatever it may be? It's hard, right? It's hard to compete with these huge companies, right? And at the time when I first started, although we were exploring this vast blue ocean, people, there were still traditional methods of shipping parcels, and with the traditional methods, we were trying to convince people that we're better than companies who have been around for 50 years, companies that have thousands of branches all over the country, companies that are household names. How the heck are we going to compete with those types of people or companies? So this quote, and I'll read it out to you guys. It's appear weak when you're strong, and strong when you're weak. And I'm going to focus on the second part, and appearing like you're strong when you're weak, right? And at that time we were weak. We had a handful of couriers. We had, I think, 3 people, and we were in a maybe 50 square meter office, right? Imagine if I was to tell people that. There's no one in the world that would want to ship with my company if they knew that, right? I mean, maybe nowadays, right? Maybe nowadays it's a little different, right? I mean, I think back then in 2004 to 2008, that was not sexy at all. Now it's like, it's cool to be a startup. It's cool to be a small, startup kind of trying to kind of make a difference. But back then people didn't get it. And you were judged by your size. So we had to kind of appear that we were bigger than we were. And how we did that was, kind of being interested in tech and really being kind of tech savvy in a way. We decided to create a really, really, really nice and amazing website, right? And at the time, 2008-ish, many companies weren't really focusing on their website. So we made it really nice, and people trusted us because of our website, and they thought, oh, if they have a really great website, they must be a pretty reliable company, and it worked for us, right? We were able to gain a lot of traction really fast, right? And I think that applies today too, right? I mean, to this day, me personally, if I'm going to a website, if I'm going to an app, and the site or the app looks and feels like crap, I'm probably not going to use it. I'm going to look for something similar in that space that where the website or the app is nice and easy to use. So I think, for those of you kind of in the tech space and the internet space, really invest in creating a nice app, a nice website, because that could really mean the difference between, a user kind of being a user or kind of just splitting the minute that they land on your website. Next slide, please. Okay. So this is one of, well, actually, all of these are like my favorite quotes, right? But this is particularly one of my favorites, and it's by a fictional character, Rocky, right? And he said it ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit to keep moving forward, right? And I'm sure all the entrepreneurs in the crowd, you guys know that entrepreneurship is hard. It's probably one of the hardest things in life. I can tell you that for me it is. I mean, running, building a company, starting a company, it's a roller coaster ride. There's ups, there's downs all the time. And you're gonna have to get used to that. That's one thing you're gonna have to get used to, is that it's gonna be a roller coaster ride, and you have to get used to it. For me, what kind of, I guess I'll get into another quote that's kind of related, but I think everyone can kind of resonate with it. It's by Steve Jobs, and he said that what separates, well, I'm going to paraphrase here, right? But what separates mediocre entrepreneurs from successful ones is pure perseverance, right? And also, to kind of paraphrase another kind of quote by I think it's Walt Disney, is the difference between success and failure is often just not quitting, right? And there's a bunch of quotes that that'll tell you that you just have to keep moving forward, right? And your confidence might get affected negatively because of all of these kind of ups and downs, and but yeah, I mean it's really true. You have to get used to it. You have to know that it's going to be hard, and the difference really is, I'm no genius, right? And I can tell you numerous times when things were really, really, really challenging and bad that I could have quit, and I just kept going. And something that got me going was, you're going to have maybe something to kind of keep you moving forward. And for me, it was two things, right? And you're going to have to find your own. For me, it was our vision, right? I mean, we knew that there were, for me, it was, I knew that there were, at that time, maybe 2008, 2009, and to this day, there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs out there that are underserved, that need help, that need assistance, that need products and services to help them succeed. And for me, that was something that kept me moving forward. And the other thing that kept me moving forward was, I started family very young. So for me, it was, my family was my major source of motivation to keep moving forward, right? And those are my two things. For everyone here, you have to find what that is that will keep you moving forward, because oftentimes it is the difference between success and failure, or success and not succeeding. Right? Next slide, please. So we'll get into failure. There's a lot of it's related to the Rocky quote, right? But it's different. It's different enough to have its own kind of story and slide, right? I mean, there's a lot of frameworks out there that actually advocate failure, right? From maybe the lean startup method, design thinking, all these types of frameworks. They actually advocate failure, right? And failure is not what it used to be. Maybe in 2008, it was a bad thing. Failure actually is kind of a good word nowadays, right? It's, it's all about kind of failing, learning, and applying those learnings, first step is experimenting, right? Experimenting, failing, learning from those failures, and repeating, going back into experimenting all over again, iterating on that initial idea, and just keep on repeating that in an endless, infinite loop until you just keep on improving. Next thing you know, you have a wonderful product, right? So failure is not the opposite of success; it's a part of success. Right? You're gonna fail along the way, and you have to. You're gonna have to fail because you're never gonna be right the first time. But it's all about how you take those failures and what you learn from it, and how and really adjusting your original idea, your original thought to improving your company, your product, your service, whatever it may be. Next slide, please. Okay. So, your product is great after kind of iterating a lot of times and failing and learning and repeating. You're riding high. Successful product. Everyone's using your product or service, and you think you're invincible. Right? I mean, that's how I felt in maybe 2009-ish. We were a few years in. Everyone was using our product. I was young, naive, and I thought, yeah, this is gonna last forever. This is great. So I got a little complacent. Right? I didn't innovate as much as I used to. I wasn't thinking as much as I used to. I thought that, the company would grow by itself. But I was totally wrong, right? Because I relaxed a little bit and thought that everything was just going to take care of itself and grow by itself. It left room for a bunch of competitors to flood the market, right? And sure, that's at the time it was tough, but in the end, competitors are always good. It keeps you on your toes. It forces you to create better products. It's great for customers, right? But at the same time, you always have to stay on your toes. Don't ever think that things are going to take care of themselves. And this is one of my favorite quotes, only the paranoid survive. So you always consistently have to be paranoid if you want your companies to sustain its growth, right? I mean, I had a classmate in business school. He was a VP for Walmart for I think 30 years. So Walmart is one of the biggest companies in the world, right? And so he had the benefit of working with the founder, and he was telling me, I was, you would, when Amazon was on its rise, on its rampage of, kind of wiping out all kind of offline retail out there, they actually succeeded in wiping out a bunch of competitors offline, right? And you'd think that Walmart would be in big trouble, but they're one of the companies who actually thrive with the threat of Amazon. And my classmate told me, and I asked him, I wanted to ask him, like, what was it like inside Walmart at that time? And he told me that the founder, ever since the very, very, very beginning of the company to the day that he died, he would always act and always create an environment of, there's always a sense of urgency. To the point where, my classmate was telling me, like, even though, they had billions of dollars in the bank and majority market share and all these things on their side, he would always kind of express to his people that if we make a mistake, if we kind of make an error in this strategy, it could mean the company, right? And so there was always a sense of urgency, even within a huge company like Walmart, and that's kind of one of the major reasons why they're thriving, in spite of the threat of Walmart and all that. So yeah, I think that this is really important. I urge everyone here to always stay paranoid, even if it really does seem like everything is going well, because as they say, what goes up must come down. But it's up to you. If you stay paranoid, you can change how steep that drop is, because like I said, it's going to be a roller coaster ride. It's going to be up and down all the time. No matter if you stay as paranoid as possible. But if you let go and you kind of put things in cruise control, that drop, that down could be really down. That it could mean your company. Right? Next slide, please. Okay, this is again, this is, all of these are my favorites, right? So I'll read it out. If I had asked, this is by Henry Ford, right? Henry Ford, Motor Company. They, I think, mass-produced the first car, right? So he said, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, right? So what this is all about, I guess, the customer. Right? There's a lot of, sayings out there and frameworks out there and trends and buzzwords out there that tell you, to focus on the customer obsession and stuff like that, right? And that's true, right? But this quote kind of tells you, to focus on your customer, but listen to them very, very, very carefully. Because if they tell you exactly what they want, it may not be the right thing. Because as you can see, imagine if Henry Ford listened to his customers. He may never have launched the Model T. And I'll give you a couple examples, in kind of a more recent context, just to give you an idea of what I mean. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So this is another company that we started, right? We started it a couple years back, and what it is, right? Before I tell you kind of what it is, I'll tell you how we kind of thought of this company and how that kind of previous support applied to this, right? We sign up thousands and thousands of people every month to use our shipping service, right? And our shipping service is tailor-fit and really focused on the micro entrepreneur, primarily in e-commerce space, right? But what we noticed was that people were not shipping. The people who signed up, the vast majority of them were not shipping, right? And our sign-up process is not easy. It's not as simple as sign up with Facebook and you have an account, right? We ask you for a bunch of stuff. We ask you for your address, birthday, who you were using before, and all these things, right? It takes you about 2-3 minutes. And 2 to 3 minutes in this day and age is a lifetime. So if we can get the attention of people for 2 to 3 minutes, I think it's safe to assume that they're interested. They're interested in using the service. They're interested in selling online, right? So, but we couldn't figure out what the problem was with the data. The data was telling us that most people weren't shipping, but we didn't know why. So we actually called a lot of these people and we asked them, why aren't you shipping? What's the problem? And the vast majority of people, they told us that, I see my peers, they're selling online. I see everyone selling online and everyone's making money, and I want a piece of that. I want to participate. But when I tried, it was actually harder than I thought. I don't have anything to sell, and if I found it, but when I did find something to sell, there were a bunch of competitors, right? So if I, what are they telling me, right? And I don't even think they knew exactly what they wanted, right? But I think that if they were to tell me what they wanted, maybe they would say, I need people to, I need more products to that are available to me here, or I need to learn how to create my own unique product or something like that, right? But what we thought was, okay, there's a huge world out there of products and services or products that aren't available here in the Philippines yet, right? I mean, I've been buying online for more than a decade, right? And I can tell you that, and I'm sure many of you guys here know that there's a bunch of products that still aren't available here, and you really have to buy it from somewhere else, whether it be from the US or Thailand or Korea, Japan, stuff like that. So we thought, why don't we help our customers with sourcing? Help them find products that they can resell here locally, right? So we started this company with the goal of giving people access to the world's best online stores or places to source their products. So what we tell people to do, like if you have trouble finding what to sell, search the world, right? If you're into a specific type of industry, let's say you're a food blogger or something, I'm sure that there, we have people who are importing stuff as like shoes, makeup, cooking utensils, crafting materials, whatever, right? Bike parts, stuff like that, right? So we're telling people, to kickstart your business by looking all over the world for products that you can sell, whether whether it be because it's maybe going to be cheaper if you import it, which is not really the case in most cases, but maybe because it's unique, it's not available here. So that's an example of like, you're kind of really listening carefully to what your customer's saying. They're not going to tell you exactly what they want because they may not know what that is. But if you listen hard enough and you kind of dig down deep into the core problem, you may be able to find something that will solve their needs. And we started this a couple years ago and it's doing really well. I believe that we're helping people kickstart their business. Right? Next slide, please. And here's another one. This is for Xend, right? The environment is not what it used to be, and what was convenient before is not really convenient anymore. And we have regular FGDs with our customers, and we try to ask them, we try to kind of figure out what their problems are, not really kind of pitching a solution, but trying to really find out what the problem is. Especially now that when I started the company, I was young. I was younger than most people that I was serving. But nowadays, there's a bunch of people that are way younger than me, and maybe I don't relate to the younger people, right? So we try to kind of understand where different types of people are coming from, right? And what people were telling us, what we noticed actually was that a lot of the younger people, just to give you a little background, like if you want to use our service, you can download our app and schedule a booking for pickup through the app, which requires the internet. You can go on our website, schedule a pickup, which also requires internet. But what we were noticing in the last, I guess, what was happening more and more recently was that people were texting their requests, which is not really efficient for us. Someone texts us like, "Hey, I want to schedule a pickup. Here's my address. Please come over." We have to manually enter that into our system, and it takes time. So, we were wondering, how are we going to solve this problem? And so, so we asked, we were kind of digging deeper and asking our customers, like, why do you do that, right? Why don't you just go on the app? It's so much easier, just really one click. And they were saying that, yeah, it is, and I can do that when I'm at home, but if I'm not at home, if I'm on the road, if I'm somewhere else at a friend's house or whatever, I don't necessarily have internet. So texting is easier, and I don't want to have to download another app. My phone is full of pictures, and I don't have room for the app. So I text. So we thought, okay, I'm sure everyone has Facebook Messenger, right? So we thought, okay, why don't we try to kind of attack two problems in one, and that was address the issue of not having to download the app. You don't have to download our app. And the issue of kind of consuming data. So we thought, okay, Facebook is Messenger's free. You don't have to download any additional app. Everyone has, I think, Facebook penetration in the Philippines is close to 100%. So, this is actually just released a couple weeks ago, where you can, if you have an account, you can go link your account up to your Facebook Messenger and book right from Facebook Messenger, right? And I think this is something that is, don't quote me on this, but I think it's the first in the world, right? Where you can kind of schedule a pickup for a delivery on Facebook, right? On Messenger. And it's a really perfect example of like really kind of listening to your customer and really kind of finding out what the core problem is. Next slide, please. Here's another one of my favorites, of course. By Bruce Lee, be formless, shapeless like water. And for me, what that means is really adapting to the market, right? I think nowadays it's really more about, it's really adapt or die, right? I mean, things are moving so fast. All industries are moving so fast. There's a lot of competitors, there's a lot of money out there, there's a lot of creative people out there that have a lot of money to be able to experiment, and so you have to be agile, you have to be fast enough to really pivot, change your idea at a moment's notice, right? And a little story about how kind of we did this, right, is, in our industry, the kind of delivery industry, there's a lot of players nowadays. And what we were noticing was, with all the demand out there for couriers, the actual people who deliver the parcels and pick up parcels from your home, it started to change the way that our people, or these riders, kind of thought, their mentality, right? So the mentality nowadays is really more of like, okay, there's so much demand out there for me, so why, I don't necessarily have to listen to my employer, for lack of a better phrase. So it was getting harder and harder and harder for us to discipline our people. Don't get me wrong, there's a bunch of great people out there, but it was getting harder, right? I mean, even in terms of recruiting people, we used to have a line outside our office. Now, there's no line. We can still recruit people, but there's no longer a long line. So we had to think hard and adapt, because aside from that recruitment problem and kind of management of the couriers problem, service started to decline as well because of that mentality. Maybe our customers weren't being served as well as they were before, because people didn't really, people thought that they could kind of just transfer to any job, so it doesn't really matter if they necessarily keep their employment, right? So we were seeing, you as a customer of ours, your experience with us can be excellent or horrible based solely on how this courier, this rider assigned to your area treats you, right? So that was very, that made us very fragile. So we thought, what can we do, right? Which led us to create another company. Next slide, please. And it's a neighborhood partner program, right? And what that is we, over the years, we've signed up about 400,000 entrepreneurs. That's a lot. And I'm sure all you guys know, all entrepreneurs out in the crowd, you know that as an entrepreneur, you're always looking for opportunities, you're always looking for ways to earn more money. So we thought, why don't we try to solve this problem by operationalizing our vast database of entrepreneurs and give them opportunities to earn by helping us, and we'll help them in return. So it's really all about giving opportunities to passionate individuals, right? So right now, the majority of all of our parcels that are picked up from all of our customers to deliveries that are made, they're made by neighborhood partners. Neighborhood partners are entrepreneurs. And I can say that I'm very, very surprised with how successful it has become and how happy our customers are for those that are being served by the neighborhood partners. Because as a neighborhood partner, you as an entrepreneur, you can relate, you can empathize with how this other entrepreneur is what they're going through, right? So in effect, you as a neighborhood partner, you serve your community better, you serve our customers better because you know how it feels, right? So we're doing a lot to give even more opportunities to these existing individuals who are helping us kind of change the way things are being done, right? So, again, to kind of close this slide, it's really about really digging deep into what the issues are of your customers and really thinking outside of the box. Next slide, please. So these next two slides are going to be a little bit about maybe something outside of kind of business operations, right? And it's all about, this is one of my favorites, of course, again. It's about seeking discomfort, right? And I can tell you that it might sound strange, but I can speak personally. Speaking in front of hundreds of people or 100 people or whatever it may be, that was uncomfortable for me. But I knew that, if I was asked to speak somewhere and I would decline and avoid it, it would definitely hold me back from, hold the company back from what it can be, right? So, this discomfort can be anything. It can be, taking that first step, maybe having the courage to approach one of your potential mentors or something like that. And I can tell you, specific to kind of mentors, you'd be surprised that many of these people that you kind of consider mentors, they're more than happy, more than willing to help you out if you just ask, right? So it might be uncomfortable, it might be embarrassing or whatever it may be. There's a long list of things, right? But if you seek discomfort and you get comfortable with the uncomfortable, then you will slowly improve yourself to the point where nothing's uncomfortable and you're comfortable with everything, and that will just lead to numerous opportunities. I can tell you that I used to avoid public speaking at all costs, but I can tell you that since I have embraced this, I forged partnerships from people who have attended some of the talks that where I've spoken, and those partnerships are still left today. Next, please. Okay, so to kind of close it all off, something totally unrelated to business is, again, entrepreneurship is very, very, very hard. But if you're focused solely on business and your goals, you're going to burn out pretty quick, really quick. So you're going to have to take time and kind of take a step back, not too long, right? Take a step back and enjoy life. I'll read out the quote. In between goals is a thing called life that has to be lived and enjoyed, and that's kind of, you're going to go insane if you don't take a step back. And for me, that's spending time with my family. As you can see, I have a big family. So I'll close it with that. In between all of your entrepreneurial ventures, just be sure to take a step back, enjoy life, and recharge. So, thank you. I hope you guys learned something. I'd love to kind of hear any questions you guys may have. Thank you.
Thank you.